this thing on.
Schizo Deluxe and Alice in Hell. Alice in Hell because it was the very first record, so that was always a incredible thing you never forget. You know, that's the one I'm most proud of. But that said, Schizo Deluxe is one I'm most proud of because it was a very underrated, unsuccessful record that should have been far better known. And it had some of Dave Padden's really good singing, and that was my best guitar sound, and that's the one I'm really proud of, other than the first one. I would say, from the Annihilator records, the favorite one to make, not necessarily the most commercial one, I would say actually the last one, Ballistic Sadistic. That was the 17th studio Annihilator record. It was the most fun to make. It was at a stressful time in my personal life. There was a move to England and some chaos and keeping the band together and record deals and a lot of different things. New studio, which was a positive chaos. Good title for a song. But I would say Ballistic Sadistic because lyrically it was a good thing to get out of my system. I had my band members and even a video crew that we were shooting a music video and documentary. The crew and the band were watching me do my vocals on the album. They sat in the studio, and some of them had some beers and coffees, and we sat around while I was doing vocals, which was really crazy because usually I do everything by myself, and I would be shy about, nervous and embarrassed or whatever about singing in front of other people. But having 10 people watching me do the vocals for Ballistic Sadistic ended up being quite good. It made my vocals better. Who knew? Good question. I have not talked to Coburn Farr in a little over a year and a half. He did come to our house in England in 2018. We did see him for a while as a guest to our house, and he hung out for a while. And then a year and a half, we haven't really heard from him. We tried to get him involved in some reunion kind of things, but we couldn't find him. Hopefully he's okay. And we're still continuing to look for him because we're going to have the 35th anniversary of Never Neverland is in 2025, and it would be great to find him. Well, as you know, there's this trilogy of the American Kaos records, but right now there's no discussion about a fourth one. We'll see how these do. There are no plans, but to be honest, I think about 6 months ago I talked to the boss of the company that owns the American Kaos records and Rock Kommander game, and asked if he would want one more record. He said maybe, no, possibly, yes, no, maybe. So we'll see. We wouldn't know till next year, but there's 3 albums. That should be enough music for you. It's about 33 songs, I think. Camilo asked a lot of questions, so I'll just answer some because I have a lot more questions to get to, but thank you for all the questions. Yes, I studied music, not a lot. I studied 2 years of classical guitar, which gave me the basic training for the left hand and the positioning of the guitar, which is why I like the flying V better than the other styles. The V sits in the middle between your legs, like a classical guitar. That's why I like the Vs. And also because K.K. Downing and Paul Stanley was the first person with a cool V. Where did I study? It was in Ottawa, Canada. But again, it wasn't a proper college or university. It was just lessons. And I was only like 10 years old, 14 years old. So Columbia, hopefully we get to play there soon. Crowds in South America are always the best. Where are we? Which instruments do I play? Well, I air drum very well. So I can write drums very well and play drums in the air, but I physically don't really play drums. I did on some of the first demos from Annihilator in the 80s. I would play drums, but since then I just program drums or show the drummers the different parts that I would like them to play. But of course I play bass and a little bit of keyboards, piano, but not very well. It's mostly bass and guitar, and I guess I sing. I try to. What kind of scales? Bah, I don't worry about it. Blues, pentatonic. I'm not really a theory person. And that's it. Thanks for your questions. Yes, you are going to get a lot of bonus reissues. The company Ear Music / Adel from Germany has bought most of the Annihilator Records catalog. Not all, but most of them, including live at Masters of Rock and double live Annihilation DVDs, Blu-rays. And it's taking a long time, but we are getting them all together, and eventually there's going to be dozens of releases coming out over the next few years. The catalog is in good hands. It's just taking time for it to get out. It will. Yes, Mexican shows have been discussed, just like shows everywhere else, and we're working on them, and we love Mexico, Hell in Heaven, and I guess Monterrey. There's so many good festivals there. Hopefully we see you soon. You're asking me good questions. Will we go back up to the usual old school 440E tuning? I think we did on a few records recently, but yeah, you're right. Some of them are a semitone, half a step down. Yeah, that'd be a good idea to go back up. That's a good point. And Stu Block is a possible singer if there is an Annihilator CD coming. Absolutely. I probably will not do another Annihilator CD unless Stu is the singer, but right now we have no plans because I've been busy with this American Kaos. 3 records, man. Check it out. Pre-show warm-up routine. Well, I guess it depends on what era of Jeff Waters. The healthy Jeff Waters or the not as healthy? On the recent not as healthy ones, I would say coffee, maybe 2, some water. Definitely 2 coffees, gets me pumped. We listen to a lot of cool old 80s music and 70s music in the dressing room to get us all pumped to play. But I have to do 20 minutes of sort of stretching, and it's just basic stretching all the fingers, arms, shoulders, neck, back, everything, so hopefully you don't pull a muscle when you play on stage. And you know, for I guess the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I've been singing and playing guitar. So I don't have to run around on stage as much because you have to be near the microphone, but you still have to make sure you don't fall off the stage or pull muscles or whatever. And warming up for the playing is 10 minutes, 15 minutes before we go on. My guitar player and I, Aaron, and usually a bass player, we'll just jam some simple old metal songs and rock songs and just to warm up, you know, AC/DC, and just have fun. Get loose and relax. How do I write solos? Well, in the old days, in the early days, it was a time when I liked to write a solo piece by piece and build it and do it properly and make a great solo, I hope. Over the years, someone like Van Halen or Angus Young became more of an influence where, you know, Van Halen and Angus Young, they don't and never did play the same solo perfectly the same 2 times. Each time was different. And a lot of times they would just hit record in the studio and play the solo. And they do many, many tries and to pick the best one. That's now where I'm at, where in the beginning I would write every note until the end and get it ready and then play it and learn it and play it. And then now it's just like, just hit record and then you play. So it's 2 different styles, 2 different ways of doing it. As a songwriter, how do you approach composing? Well, I have a lot to deal with when I write the Annihilator songs and even American Kaos songs, because I've always been more of the, I haven't always done this, but mostly Annihilator and American Kaos have been Jeff Waters on bass, Jeff Waters on guitar, Jeff Waters on lead guitar, you know, managing, booking, producing, mixing, engineering, and even mastering half of the CDs over time. Plus, you know, looking after the legal stuff and merchandise and all that. So I would do a lot of jobs, and some of them I would do well, some of them you can't do everything good. But I think, let me find this here. As a songwriter, I was writing the bass parts, the drum parts, the guitar parts, the vocals, the melodies, the lyrics, all that stuff. And then at the same time, thinking like an engineer, how am I going to record this and how will I mix it and produce it and arrange it? So if you really want to know how I go about the songwriting process, I probably have to to do a video in my studio. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a half an hour video of how I come up with songs and how we record it in the studio. But that's a good question. I'll answer it someday on YouTube. The question is about any goals set for yourself. So you didn't say music, which is okay. And is there anything specific that I'd like to achieve in 2025? So I don't have to talk about music then. I want to get in better shape, lose some weight. I want to make more money. We all do, right? Just get healthier, I think. That's my New Year's resolution, I guess. What else? That's it, just to chill, and I don't have a lot of big plans in 2025. I've spent 35 years working very hard all the time, and I'm enjoying some of the time off right now. But I'm not really having time off because I'm here working, right? But it's fun work. Yeah, so not much of an answer, but hopefully it works. Thanks for the question. Craig and Lisa, whose parents are they? Kyle's. Hey Kyle, shout out to your parents. Yes, if we ever tour again, it would be great to come back to the Newcastle, was it Riverside? Yeah, I think it's Riverside, right? Yep, to the Riverside. That was great. We played the original Riverside in 1989, and then the warm-up show for our last tour in 2019 was at the Riverside, but the new Riverside, by the Riverside. So that's cool. So hi to your parents, and thanks, Kyle. Love to play there again. Great place. So you seem to think my classical influences are unmistakable. I kind of don't see that, but I know there's traces of it. Definitely on some little instrumental classical guitar parts or flamenco kind of vibed parts like Crystal Ann and a few others. But yeah, maybe I do have some classical stuff in there. Again, I only studied a couple of years of classical and I was very young, so I don't think I learned all that much, but I learned the left hand positioning. Where is that question again? Okay. And thank you for being a huge fan. I appreciate that. And Newcastle, you're another Newcastle person. Good. We'll hopefully see you there at the Riverside. Classical tendencies for my song and solo writing process. Again, I don't really see it. You send me a Facebook message and let me know what parts of songs you think are classical so I can learn what I'm doing from you. Good question, though. I just don't have a good answer. Well, a lot of them, because that's the problem, is there's probably about 20% at least of the Annihilator catalog of like 200 songs that we have never played and that we won't play, and the reason is it's just too hard to play. Maybe someday I'll try those songs, but I doubt it. See guys like Kerry King from Slayer. Yeah, I was gonna say James Hetfield. He's the king of metal picking, but for stamina, endurance, it's Jeff Hanneman, Kerry King, and maybe Gary Holt from Exodus. But like someone like Hanneman King from Slayer, they could play fast picking for 2 hours, the entire set without stopping. I'm actually faster and tighter and cleaner picking, but I can only do it for like 30 seconds. So there's a big difference between those picking styles. And I'd always admired the Slayer guys for being able to just do that for 2 hours. So some of the Annihilator songs that I don't want to play again, that are too hard, are usually not from the left hand, the fret hand. It's usually because of the endurance and the strength that I don't have, and most guitar players don't. I don't think there's many guitar players, except certain death metal and metal guitar players, that can play the speeds that Slayer does for 2 hours. That's like very rare. And I'm not one of them. I wish I could. No, I don't. I don't wish I could play fast for 2 hours. I'd rather watch Slayer in the crowd. I don't know, like I know some off the top of my head, and I just quickly thought about this before I answered this, and I might remember. Mama, the original Black Christmas, Evil Dead, the 2013 version, believe it or not. What else did I say? Uh-oh. Horror. I don't know. The Omen and Exorcist, the first one. Good, there's 5. It's probably not my top 5, but it's close. Good question. I'm glad it's not an Annihilator or American Kaos question. It's good.